Okay, I'm here with PHP guru Michelangelo Van Dam, the coolest named PHP developer in the world. Say hello, Michael. Angelo.
Hello, world.
So hopefully we'll get all of the technology to work right this time. Isn't it great international real time type stuff?
hmm
So tell us about your participation in ZendCon.
My participation in ZendCon would be, first of all, I will give two talks, and I will also run the PHP ZendCon Uncon conference.
Yeah,
So,
I want to get you a T-shirt made, a ZenCon T-shirt made. Just going to get one made for you that says I'm sort of a big deal. Because
no, no, no. It's not because I want to do it for my own ego. I love doing it. I love giving talks. Currently, I'm here in Ireland giving the workshop, which I'm also doing at ZenCon. And yeah, I just love informing people,
so
uh,
tell us about
yeah.
tell us about the two sessions that you're doing at ZenCon.
Well, first of all, the workshop is all about quality assurance. So the quality assurance is something that people know about, but for some particular reason don't ever get started with. So what I'm trying to do during my workshop is showing people how easy it is to get started with quality assurance, why it's important, and most of all, how you can use this as a tool to prevent bad things from happening, like getting hacked or having a flaw in your system that makes your company lose a lot of money. And so that will be like my first workshop at ZenCon.
Right. So
And
that's not a
then,
breakout session. That's a half day tutorial, correct?
yes, yes, correct. And then I have a regular talk about PHP unit and Selenium. So you do user acceptance testing in an automated way. And by combining this with PHP unit, you can even hook it up onto your CI system or have it run regularly using your command line tools.
So I've noticed a real upturn in interest in sort of more classical engineering practices for PHP development, particularly with a focus on quality. And
hmm
so it's great that you're doing both this tutorial and the unit testing talk. And but I'm curious as to, you know, because you've been focused a lot recently on the whole quality process for PHP developers. Why do you think why do you think it is that so many PHP shops are sort of late to the game of doing this sort of, adding this sort of quality process to their development lifecycle?
Well, the answers are particularly easy. Most of the time, developers don't have the time. They don't get the time from management, or they don't have the time within their projects. Uh, they all know the basics about getting started with unit testing and improving the quality, same as with writing documentation with their code, but they just don't get around to do it because there's always a next thing that's more important than the first thing that they're working on. Secondly, testing with web applications, I call it F5 testing. So basically what people do, they press F5, see in the website, on the web page, that whenever it refreshes, the new data is still saved, and they move on to the next thing. It's that easy to have your basic testing. But of course, this is only working on your machine, not working on all the machines that you're working at, that you're providing services to. So is it a good thing? No. But it's reality. People do a lot of testing through the browser. The times that I see var dumps still in production code, it's enormous. Just do a quick search on GitHub projects, and you will be amazed by the numbers. So yeah, you really need to focus on saying, hey guys, there are better ways to do this, and what I'm trying to do with my workshop and also with my regular talk is I will show people the door how to get started, and with less or less effort on their part, they can continue and implement this in their own projects.
And don't you think that by doing that, so sort of helping them jumpstart, you help them realize a lower barrier of entry? I mean, so I think, my personal opinion is one of the reasons that this doesn't happen is, as you said, there's a time investment involved, but early on in the project, they see more productivity by ignoring these things,
Hmm.
and it's only, particularly in more complex development projects, it's only in sort of more advanced stages of the development life cycle when complexity increases that you start to realize that if they'd have done that work up front, they'd have actually saved time over the course of the entire development life cycle.
Yeah. Well, as you know, most web applications they start off with as being a prototype, and the prototype becomes some mainstream product within the company. And by the time the company is actually relying on that prototype, it's already like way too late to actually have these hooks in place. And then people are starting to wonder, okay, how can I implement this? Because every tutorial is looking at a fresh new project that you start off from scratch. But reality is people are already working on projects that they've got like massive legacy projects. And how do you implement quality assurance in there, especially unit testing documentation, where to begin? Because it looks like a huge amount of work that needs to be catched up.
But so that people know, you're going to show them a lot more in your tutorial than just unit testing. And I'm reading from the description, it includes code measuring, performance testing, debugging, and profiling,
Yeah.
all of which are, you know, somewhat unique but equally important sciences.
Well, let's look at performance testing. Do you know how many users your web application can handle? That's one of those very simplistic questions you need to ask yourself. At what time do I need to scale my application before I go, yeah, out of order? And because when your website is down, your customers cannot visit you, you lose money. So you need to know what kind of performance metrics you need to take into account, because from some point in time, if you're still running your applications on bare metal, you need to scale out. Maybe you need to look for other solutions like yeah, hosted solutions or cloud solutions. So if you don't know the amount of capacity that your servers can handle, how will you know when you need to scale out?
Well,
So,
also performance in the web application space is tricky because so I've had a bug recently where I was looking at a website that was getting reports of slow users, and I'm looking at the code when it suddenly dawned on me that the problem wasn't in the code. The problem was that users were allowed to upload images, but there was no throttle on the size of those images. So they were uploading these huge 16 megapixel images that were being
mhm,
scaled down to 300 by 300 pixels.
mhm,
But it was the HTTP requests that were causing the performance problem, not the PHP code.
mhm. Well, it's these kinds of things that you need to make sure of, and in overall performance testing, profiling, and knowing what the bottlenecks are in your application. Maybe it's your database, maybe it's an external web service, maybe it's a file upload. You need to know these things because when your application becomes slash dot, as we used to say back in the day,
Right.
um, you get like enormous amount of hits additionally, and you need to know, can we cope with this enormous increase of customers, and how do we handle this? And like you say, it can be a very small thing like uploading an image that can cause like major problems when viewing at a listing of all those images, especially when they're all 60 megapixel. um, Yeah, it's slow on the user experience, and when people are not really satisfied about that performance, they gonna look for a similar service or project or whatever elsewhere, and
Right.
you lose your customers.
So the breakout session that you're doing is UA testing with Selenium and PHP Unit, and one of the reasons that we selected this talk was that it wasn't just about um, the mechanics of using those tools, but your talk is framed in the context of using those tools in the context of your continuous integration environment. And CI has gotten to be really a huge issue. It's not that it hasn't been around for a long time, but it seems like lots and lots of PHP shops are suddenly looking at CI as a way to increase their productivity, especially in this time frame when more and more we're building PHP backends to mobile apps, and we have a need to update our production code. Some shops are doing it once a day.
Yeah. Well, we hear terms like continuous deployment and continuous releases and stuff like that. Uh, Yeah, it should not be a problem to release on a regular basis. I mean, I know a couple of guys that release 6 times a day
Wow.
um, because they have these systems in place and continuous integration. It's not like it's going to safeguard everything. It's not like the Holy Grail, but it does a lot of automated tasks that you should not do as a developer. Well, you should do them uh, focused on your project. But these systems, they can do the complete analysis of your code base. They can do the automated documentation and put it on the central website within your company, make it available for all the developers. They can do the performance reporting. They can do the profiling. They can package your application and have nightly builds or have it deployed to staging automatically so people can actually go through it and see and confirm that it meets the specs before it even gets deployed to production. And you can do this on many levels, not just on your web application, but also on your mobile interfaces, on your mobile apps, your mobile APIs, or just your web services in general.
Right.
And by having a system doing things automatically, you're actually using a system where it's built for doing repetitive work.
Right. The last thing we have to talk about is the Uncon, which I'm especially excited about. And it's funny to me that so talking with some of the non-technical folks at Zend, some of the marketing folks, some of the biz dev folks, folks that haven't attended an Uncon really don't seem to get it. Um, so tell folks a little bit about what sort of opportunity the Uncon presents and why it's a compelling model for folks to attend.
Well, first of all, the Uncon is like a non-scheduled conference within a conference. So everyone that wants to share something can sign up and reserve a slot to give a presentation or to have a roundtable discussion or just exchange ideas with other people.
So I think that's a
Uh,
really important point that you just made because the first Uncon that I went to, I had this impression where I had to sign up to give a talk, and I found out that wasn't the case at all. I could just say, "Hey, here's a topic. I want to find out what other people are doing to solve this set of problems." So I could put that up as a suggested session, and it really was, a Q&A roundtable discussion, just a bunch of people in a room who are all addressing the same kind of problem. So it wasn't necessarily, that I had to present on it.
no,
And I think a lot of people don't get that right away about the Uncon either.
No, but that is exactly what the Uncon is all about. It allows people to exchange ideas. For instance, if a talk is very popular and people want to know more about a specific topic, they can ask the presenter to give an additional session like, hey, let's go more in detail about this session.
Right.
But also, like you say, hey, I have this problem, and maybe other people also face this problem. Um, Maybe someone already solved this kind of problem. Maybe we can all sit together and look for an answer to this issue. So it allows people to collaborate and exchange ideas and yeah, to form like a community within a particular conference. And this is an enormous benefit for any conference that wants to draw out more of the interaction with the audience. Because right now you only have the speakers doing the talks, you have the sponsors having their booths up, and and the only way that the audience can interact with the speakers or with the sponsors is by filling out a survey.
Right.
And with the Ancon, they actually have the opportunity to go even further than just saying, "Hey, I liked your talk." No, I liked your talk, but I want to know more about this or this part of your talk.
And it's also a clever way. I mean, for years and years, we've referred to the hallway track at
Yeah.
conferences. So it's a great way to to leverage the hallway track, but let people find people of other interests rather than having to just sort of hang around in the hall and overhear a conversation that you're interested in.
Hmm.
As you mentioned, in addition to your tutorial session on the first day and your breakout session on unit testing, you'll be available at the Uncon. So obviously everybody that goes to ZendCon will be able to catch you there. But in the meantime, tell folks about Dragon Bee and how to find you at all your Dragon Bee locations.
Well, the easiest way, if you want to know what I'm doing, is to follow me on Twitter. Everything I do regarding PHP and all that stuff, I will put on Twitter. Sometimes it will be too much of a feed, but yeah, that's just me. I tweet about almost anything. And more detailed talks or ideas I exchange through my blog, which is dragonbe.com. And there you will find all kinds of things like, hey, I got around this particular issue. How do we solve this? Or I'm investing in new technology or looking at one of the platforms that's out there, and I will give my review on that. So.
Great. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time. It's afternoon here on the East Coast of the United States, so it's evening in Dublin where you are.
Yes.
Thanks for taking the time, and I look forward to seeing you in just a few weeks at ZendCon.
All right. Awesome. Talk to you there. Bye bye.